Okay, so good evening, everybody, and welcome to our very first podcast of Dead Ends. Super proud, great moment for us today. So what I'm going to do, first of all, is introduce you to our panel of guests. So we have Corinne Besan and we have John Ingram. So I'm going to introduce you, Corinne, first. Would you like to tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
How long have I got, Colin?
Not long.
Right. I founded my own team quite a few years ago now, South Bristol Paranormal. I'm also part of the Jamaica Inn Paranormal team down in Cornwall, where I love to talk history, Colin, and ghosts. I'm also involved with the Warming Clock Tower in Bristol. Myself and Colin are Ghosts of Launceston, and we're just got fingers in so many pies and not enough time to do it all.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does.
I can't see.
Oh, we'll keep doing that all night then.
I can't see.
And John, do you want to introduce yourself, darling?
Yeah, I am part of the FSR Paranormal group. Met Kelly's about 3 years ago now, 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah, I really enjoy it. It's a brilliant hobby. Yeah, that's me. I live in sunny Exmouth in Devon. So it's a fair old hike to get up to see Kelly and go out with the team. But it's well worth it, every penny of it.
So, Colin, do you want to introduce our first ever show?
No, not really. Yeah. Right. Obviously, welcome everybody. Just quick hellos first. I see in the chat room Liz. I see Beverly, Roy, Jane, Claire, Marie, and Sheena, I believe.
Yeah.
Welcome. Our first very show tonight is about lockdown and flouting the lockdown guidelines. Obviously, there's a lot of it going on these days. We are a little bit peeved over it, to be quite honest. Most of us are indoors. Hi, Sam. We are abiding by the rules. Sorry, I got the dog by the side of me that's shaking the toy. Stop it, Phoebe. And we are abiding by the lockdown rules. And some people are just damn right flouting them. They're going out, they're doing investigations. And personally, I have been on Facebook. I've seen these posts. I'm a little bit shocked at some individuals that are doing it. I think they should know better. There are a lot of groups that are out there that are actually flouting the rules as well. Now, I don't know whether they're getting confused over these guidelines that we've got. But obviously, I can't speak from a Welsh perspective because we're out of lockdown. It's you guys in England and Cornwall that are now in a 4-week lockdown. And it was quite hard for us just for 2 weeks. So I can imagine what it's like being in for 4 weeks. But nevertheless, you are in lockdown. And at the end of the day, this shouldn't be happening. You shouldn't be going out, in my opinion. Now, guys, remember this, right? This is our opinions and our views, okay? We're speaking in general terms here. It's not just hitting at one section of the paranormal. There's quite a lot of people doing it. And what we want to do is today is to see that comment section on the side light up with your views, your opinions. Don't sit back and think, oh, I wished I asked that, or I wished I had said that. Get on the page and do it. Nobody's going to be attacked. Nobody's going to be called out over their views, whether you agree with us or whether you disagree with us. At the end of the day, we want to hear your views. This is your show. It's mine and Kelly's show, but it's your show just as much, and our guests. And obviously, we've got 2 tonight. I've got the troublemaker down below me, Miss Yvette Fielding. Corinne Van. And we've got John, our lovely John. So what I'll do is because if I go to Corinne first or Yvette first, she'll give John a chance to chat. So I'm going to go over to John and ask John, what's your views? What's your opinions on this one then?
Well, my views are very much, I suppose, from what I'm reading from the government guidelines that were issued on 5th of November about the essential travel. So what is essential travel? To go and do a ghost hunt? I don't know particularly. The amount of premises that are closed for their daily business, and also the definition of the support bubble. And I think that's a biggie, the support bubble, because it seems to be that seems to be the one that's causing a lot of confusion, if I'm honest.
So you think that the confusion from a lot of these groups and individuals is the fact that they're not reading, or they're reading the guidelines differently, and they're not clear enough?
To me, they're clear, but I can, it's like every other regulation that comes out. People will look for a way around it, a way through it, a way over it, to justify what they're doing, if you like.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you there, actually, because a lot of people don't really understand what the support bubble actually means. So what I'm going to do is read from the government website itself of what a support bubble actually is.
Yeah.
So a support bubble is a close support network between a household with only one adult or a household with one adult and one or more people who are under the age of 18 on 12th of June 2020 in the home, and one other household of any size. This is called making a support bubble. So once you're in a support bubble, you can think of yourself as being in a single household with people from the other household. It means you can have close contact with that household as if they were members of your own household. So once you make a support bubble, you cannot change who is in your bubble. Continue to follow social distancing guidance with people outside of your household or support bubble. This is critical to keeping you, your family, and your friends as safe as possible. I think it makes it quite clear there what a support bubble actually means. It's not well, today this is my support bubble, and then tomorrow I'm just going to have a completely different support bubble. It is what it is. You have one lot of family that you can keep in touch with. So one lot of friends or family that you can keep in touch with, not 12 people from different households, and you create a support bubble that way.
Yeah. I mean, just to put it into perspective, I've got my son and my daughter both live in Exmouth, different houses, and I've got 2 grandkids with each of them. I've had to make that choice now, which one of my kids I can go and visit. It is for a month only. So I go to visit my son and the 2 grandkids there. And my daughter, I will speak to her at the end of the drive. She's in the care industry and actually goes to the next door neighbour. So I speak to her from like 15 feet away when she pops around there once in a blue moon. But that's just the way it is. It's for a month.
It's hard. Yeah. I mean, I can't even see my own family. I just can't, because obviously I mingle with people from work. So I personally wouldn't want to create a support bubble through fear of obviously the amount of people that I come in contact with at work. So for me, it's a little bit different. I just wouldn't have a support bubble.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of interesting comments coming up, Callie, on now, I've noticed as well. What's your view on it then, Yvette? I mean, Corinne, sorry.
Well, I think when the first lockdown happened, it was very clear, very simplistic rules. And, for the paranormal community, especially those that run businesses, it's been absolutely devastating for many. Then when we came out of lockdown and then went into different tiers, etc. Personally, I found that so confusing. So I shied away from it. But I understand people get confused, but also there's a lot of confusion out in the paranormal concerning it as well. So for me, myself, with my brain, I just like simple council estate logic to me.
Yeah.
That's what I would prefer. Don't laugh, Colin. But to side on the edge of caution, it's probably better just to stick to government guidelines and wait until we're out of lockdown. Though it obviously, I understand it's hard for lots of people.
I mean, let's be quite honest, it's 4 weeks. How hard is it for 4 weeks for somebody just to abide by some simple rules? It's common sense at the end of the day. Let's be quite honest. And you know me, I always put my mouth in first. I've got no filter. I'm quite happy to turn around and just say, I think people know exactly what they're doing at times. Certain groups of individuals do know what they're doing. They know they're flouting the guidelines, and they're just going to go ahead and do it anyway. And whether we address it here or whether it's addressed somewhere else, it's not going to make a blind bit of difference. It's not going to stop them, put it that way. They're still going to go out there. I mean, I would turn around and say to those people, if any of them are listening, you know, when you're thinking about going out and flouting these guidelines, why don't you go to a residential home and explain to the people in that residential home why they cannot see their loved ones? Why don't you explain to them why they can't have their loved ones come and comfort them when they're really, really distressed? Why don't you go to another residential place which has got vulnerable adults in there and explain to those with autism and stuff why they can't see their parents? And the best one of it all, why don't you go to the hospitals and explain to the doctors, the nurses who are on them wards, actually trying to save people's lives from this COVID, and then tell them, I'm a paranormal investigator and I'm going out investigating. I mean, at the end of the day, there it is in a nutshell. Why don't people go out and do that? You know, and explain themselves why they're doing what they're doing. Because I can't computer. It goes boiling my piss, really, to be quite honest. The steam's all gone. There is nothing else to boil, especially when it comes down to this situation. I mean,
I think Liz Cornell makes a great point, doesn't she? She says, I've also seen people claiming that it's their job, so they're allowed.
Yeah, well, there you go. Isn't it? But Phoebe, behave. Well, there you are. I've seen it as well. I've seen the words once or twice on Facebook. Key workers. Like bollocks, you key workers. Give it a rest.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
I mean, it's ridiculous. At the end of the day, it's pure common sense. Just stick to the guidelines, guys. The spirits are not going to go anywhere for 4 bleeding weeks. They'll probably appreciate a rest.
Yeah.
But you can't tell me that the locations, I'm on a roll, right? You can't tell me that some of these locations as well, why are they opening up? They know they're not supposed to open up. Because there are gyms that have had the police and the council turn up and close them down. Mm-hmm. There has been pubs that have been fined because they've flouted the rules and the guidelines. There's a guy, I think it's Wales this was based in, where he went to his next door neighbours for a cup of tea. Just a cup of tea. He got arrested.
Yeah.
And yet you've got somebody that can think they can just go out. You know, in my eyes, it's wrong. I'm sorry. I mean, people may agree, they may disagree. You know, I'm not here to impress anybody. I'm here to put my side across. I think it's wrong. And I think those people of note, those who have done TV a little bit as well, you know, I think they have a responsibility, right, to go out and say, hey, you know, we need to back off the paranormal just for a short period of time, because there are hundreds of thousands of people that are in the paranormal. Absolutely hundreds. And think of all the other groups and the other event companies who have actually shut down. You know, there's people losing their jobs.
Yeah.
But there you go. That's my view. Sorry,
Can I just talk on the point of the hospital? Has someone who's spent 17 days in there in the summer and really poorly, the care, the nurses, it really shook me to my core. What they have to endure, you know, and it's the masks, it's the PPE, it's non-stop, and they go above and beyond. And what really hit home was the dietitian, who was about my age, and she was wearing a mask and she was struggling to breathe, and she said, "I'm very, very sorry, but unfortunately I've had COVID and it's damaged my lungs." And yet she still wore a mask while talking to me while I was in my hospital bed. I don't think we realise, you know, how bad this COVID is, and those people, to me, need applauding for what they do, as well as real key workers that, you know, aren't out for praise, just get on with it.
And those work in residential homes as well. Most importantly, I mean, it must be horrendous for them. We know somebody that works in a residential home, our Marie. And, you know, I think Marie might have commented, I hope she has commented on the page somewhere about how heartbreaking it might have been. I'm sure I've seen something come up. Did I?
If it wasn't for the care and the wonderful everything that I had, I might not be here, and that wasn't COVID related, but it made me think twice and to abide by the government guidelines to the best of my ability.
Yeah, we had a comment that's come up from Justin Clifford that says, "Hi, we approached our local police and council and they gave us permission to go out. I have an email we posted on our page, 4S Paranormal." Yeah, okay, so I did see that come up actually, because if anybody knows me, I do my research. I did see that, so I did have a little look at that, Justin. It confused me somewhat because I then messaged my council, and my council were pretty much the same as Bristol Council when I contacted them. They just sent me through to the Gov website for coronavirus guidance. Certainly didn't give me any permission to go out. But I think if I follow it down, I think you said something about it being trading standards, I believe, is who you sought advice from. Yes. So local police and council and trading standards. So I guess if that's authentic, the email that you put out, which I have no reason to believe it isn't. I'm not saying that you're lying or anything. But I think right there is where the confusion comes in. Because actually, when you do read about what you can and you cannot do, it's very, very clear, to be fair. It's really, really clear. It says you can exercise or visit a public outdoor space by yourself, with the people you live with your support bubble, or when on your own, one person from another household. And public outdoor places include neighbourhood streets, parks, beaches, and countryside, public gardens and grounds, whether or not you pay to enter them, allotments and outdoor playgrounds. I would imagine that's not an exhaustive list. And I think therein lies the problem. You cannot meet in a private garden unless you live with them or have formed a support bubble with them. And face coverings are required by law to be worn in many indoor settings, such as shops or places of worship where they remain open. So I guess my confusion is probably just the same as everybody else's. I understand that Justin goes out with his wife and his stepmom because they're obviously in his support bubble. However, I've been watching the last couple of days a particular team that go out together. There's 3 of them, and they're in an abandoned house, no face mask, and completely no social distancing. So my question to you guys is, what does COVID secure actually mean to you guys? So John, what do you think COVID secure means to you if you have to go out on an investigation, which you shouldn't be going on?
I don't have to go out on an investigation, and I wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it was interesting when CJ was going through and giving his thoughts and views on it. I was sort of looking through the lockdown stuff that I printed off, and there are some exemptions for businesses, and it does clearly state here for the purposes of professional film and TV filming. And I guess that is because of schedules are worked out months and months in advance, etc. But it's for the purpose of professional film and TV filming in retail, entertainment and leisure, as well as visitor attractions. Now, I don't know of any sort of paranormal teams that the definition of professional is you are getting some payment for it. And, I just don't know, the majority of paranormal teams aren't in that category. They go out to do it for the love of it, and they do it for free, and there's no reward attached to it apart from the personal reward you get from the investigation.
I'm going to be honest. I see this comment, Cole James, where he's put, we have an email, also a log number from Trading Standards, and also Sergeant Officer stating that they can go out. Now, I'm not going to say that's not right, but I would have to question, what that sergeant said and what that council or Trading Standards. I mean, where are they from? Noddyland or somewhere? Let's be quite honest here. You contact so many different councils, so many different police forces, you're going to get conflicting because some of them don't really understand the guidelines. So I wouldn't read too much. I said at the end of the day, it comes down to common sense. That's what it does. Do you want to put people at risk? Do you want to put your friends at risk? Do you want to put your family at risk? Or do you want to put anybody at risk? I wouldn't want to do that. Myself and Corinne have been shut down since March of this year. We've not even been out. In fact, it's nice to have a bit of a break. I just don't understand what this I've got to get out there and do it no matter what attitude and where it comes from. I think everybody could have a little bit of a break from the paranormal at some point. It's not necessarily you need to go out. But I spoke to my local council. I know what the MPs have told me. I know what Monmouthshire have come up, and they've all turned around and said exactly the same. No, it's unacceptable. Lockdown means lockdown. So I think there's a lot of problems locally and in different areas because some of these people don't really understand, especially in Trading Standards. I'm sorry. I would have to question it. Cole, if you're watching or whatever, I don't need to be watching for it, but I would really, really contact your local MP and have a word with your local MP and see what your local MP comes back and tells you before taking any notice of that. That's a very naughty sergeant, in my opinion, and a very naughty Trading Standards. But there again, it's each area is it's going to be different. In many ways.
I think a lot of the confused is when it's someone's income. And that's where there seems to be a big difference compared to just hobby groups going out. Now, again, I have no idea which is the right or the wrong way. But, over the months, especially in the first lockdown, I was surprised to see some going out because I was under the impression that the first lockdown was a complete lockdown. I might be wrong, but it can be, I think, when you go to an official and they tell you that, you take it as correct. And if the official person they've gone to is wrong, and say that team gets stopped, who gets the blame? You know, you need a government official to make it quite clear, I think, to the paranormal community. And it would be nice if there was someone in the government who actually took that mantle up and just came out with a clear, precise list. That
Well,
would be most helpful.
It's the government that got the faults, not made it absolutely clear. And yeah, to Cole again, he's just come back on that he's said, I believe, a few teams that have had the same logs as him, which is fine. But I have to, from my perspective, I have to question that. I really do. I just don't see it doesn't compute, if that makes sense. Why would they be saying that if they're telling you to stay indoors? And
well, I guess when you look at the government website, it clearly states businesses and venues which have to close. So as you guys already know, it's everything non-essential. Okay, so non-essential retail, hospitality venues, accommodation, leisure and sports facilities, entertainment venues, and that's wide ranging. I mean, they do a massive list. Personal care facilities, so your hairdressers and your beauty salons, community centres and halls, well, that's a massive chunk of the paranormal out the window. Places of worship, etc., etc. And then at the bottom, it says these businesses and places will also be permitted to be open for a small number of exempt activities, including, and at the end it says, for the purposes of professional film and TV filming. So would you class then paranormal YouTube lives and Facebook lives as professional film and TV filming?
No, I wouldn't classify it there. Just want to say, yes, Cole, I hear what you're saying as well upon the thing. But no, I wouldn't class it. And I'm sorry to say, and I don't want to burst everybody's bubble, but the paranormal is not essential.
No.
It's an unproven field. How can it be essential if it's an unproven field? So there, at the end of the day, there is an argument there to say, but you can't use the word "it's essential." And also, as businesses, if you're going out and you register businesses, if you can't open a hairdresser's, if you can't open a pub, if you can't open a restaurant, if you can't open an hotel, me and Corinne know this because we're what we do, and new agents are having to shut down or whatever. How come paranormal business can still go about its business? Again, I'm sorry, guys. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm thick. I don't know, but it doesn't compute to me. I respect everybody's views, and I fully understand where they're coming from, and I know everybody's very passionate about what they do. Nobody runs more passionate than me. I mean, once I get into it, I love the paranormal, but I also respect it, and I also respect the surroundings and the venues. I wouldn't want to put a venue at risk of being fined, or even myself being fined by just going, it's a non-essential business. So why are people doing it? If somebody could come back to me and say to me, well, I'm doing it because of this, and it's a valid reason, I'll eat my words live. But you can't, because it's not essential. And this is what I can't understand. Why?
Okay.
Let's take it gently.
I know. So Danny Moss says lives on Facebook and YouTube are not professional, TV filming. There's no two ways about it. Do you know, I'm going to have to agree with Danny there, and also everybody else who said it's not professional platform. So Joe Richards, I think Trisha also popped up on there as well. I don't believe it is professional filming for TV. I think if Danny Moss was, if you don't mind, Danny, I'm just going to use you as an example. If Danny Moss said, I don't know, he's going here, Pendle Hill again, let's say. Great show, by the way. I loved it. If he was going to Pendle Hill to do his Amazon Prime stuff, I would say that's professional filming, personally. I don't know what the rest of you think, but I think when it comes to YouTube and Facebook, I think that's more of a social platform more than it is a TV platform. But again, just my opinion. So I'm not trying to convince anybody else any different if you that's not something you agree with. But personally, I just don't. I think it's a social platform, not a professional TV thing in any way, shape, or form. I don't know, Corinne. What do you think? Have you got sort of an answer on whether you think, paranormal investigations on Facebook and YouTube can be classed or could be classed as professional filming?
I think for those that do it and they make their money from Facebook Lives, to them it is essential. Myself, I'm not one to do lives and watch me as I bend over and put equipment on the floor and they can see the size of my backside. So I try to avoid things like that. If we do a Facebook Live, normally it's a fun thing. It's not a serious one. But to be honest with you, all groups are different. They all have different views, different approaches, different aspects. So it's going to be very hard to agree something unless we have a government directive that's in plain, simple language. And with talk of opening up for 5 days over Christmas and a lockdown in January, again, it's going to carry on. And then those that need to make a living, that do public events, they are going to suffer and lose their businesses. There's only so much you can do when you take something away. And, not everyone has savings, etc. Even our private stuff, we've missed out so much, all of us, this year. Normally we're looking forward to a Christmas break by now. But unfortunately, it's the frustration of seeing some go out when you think, well, I can't, I think that's wrong, so I'm not doing it. And you're so desperate to investigate.
Yeah, this is true. And I totally agree with you. I really do. Okay, so we've got quite a lot of commitment in the chat room, haven't we? I mean, it's great. I mean, fantastic. There's so many of you that don't agree. We love it. Do you know what? And our show is completely open to you. So, and there's no malice. So if any of you ever want to come on and you think we're not going to agree with you, do you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we think. This is just a massive, open and honest debate. Everybody gets to have their say, and we're all going to do it in a real adult way. That would be great. But yeah, this is open to you. This is this is why we made it. We wanted you guys to feel you could come on and have a platform to say what you need to say, because it's so different when you're typing, isn't it, CJ? When you're typing, it can be misconstrued in so many different ways, but when you say it, there's no other way of taking it. There really isn't.
Well, hence that's the reason why we called it Dead Ends, because at the end of the day, we're not always going to agree, but it's okay to disagree. It's okay to say, I don't agree with you. You always reach a dead end, hence why the film's called Dead Ends.
That's right.
Or if I'm arguing with Colin, I'm always right.
Oh, yeah. I just want to say, everybody that has joined in the chat room, thanks very much, because it's blown apart. But would you not all agree? Does Corinne look a little bit like Yvette Fielding? If we could just have a little bit of coming in there, support for Yvette, that would be great.
Absolutely.
No, it's Prince Adam from He-Man. That's what my other half says I look like. It's great fun.
Okay. So we've got quite a lot of questions and answers in. So I think what I might do is have a quick look.
Them all, isn't it? Really, to be quite honest. And thick.
So we've got Mandy Fellow. She says, I feel like walking away from the paranormal, as this year has shown its true colours on a lot of things. In fact, I don't even know if we will be back at it. That's a shame. Don't do that.
Yeah, that is a shame. I like Mandy. We'd have to get you on the show one day, Mandy, actually, to be quite honest with you. You'd be a great guest to come on, talk about some of the issues, to be quite honest.
Rachel Gardner, we did an investigation the weekend before the rule of 6 came in. Masks worn all night, no holding hands, only bubbles of 6 in a room, strict times of movement around the building, so no one would come into contact, etc. This was so hard to keep. 15 people apart, I felt like military police. It was not a nice way to investigate. The paperwork was crazy too. It's just not worth it to night frights. Do you know, I love that honesty as well. I love it. Because if I was holding an event, because I've done events myself, I've been a paranormal event myself, I would probably poop my bloody pants, because there is no way you can keep anybody 2 meters apart from anybody when shit hits the fan. Everybody is running that way and they're all running at the same time. Crazy.
I mean, what's going to happen next year? Apparently it's all over the news now that you're going to get a 5-day reprieve over the Christmas. Possibly. But at the cost of a 25-day lockdown.
So you just said that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know, but exactly. What's going to happen? You're going to have the same situation in January than what we've got now or what we had before, because there was people breaking the lockdown rules in the first one. Going in. I've seen them. You only got to look tomorrow night on Facebook, Friday and Saturday, see who's out and about and who's putting it up on Facebook. To be quite honest, doing it. It's just generalized search. You know, I'm not saying that, you know, you're going to get your head chopped off for doing it, but, you know, just common sense, guys.
I think as well, everyone are, not just the paranormal community, but everyone is getting so frustrated, especially those that abide by the rules. And I'm talking pensioners, all sorts of people. Then they see these mass protests, no one's social distancing, not wearing masks, and they think, well, why should I bother? And then the resentment turns into action, and then they think, stuff it. And that's what's going to happen. Anarchy is going to prevail. And it's going to filter into the paranormal community as well.
Well, I think it already has, to be fair.
I mean, let's all keep our fingers crossed for this miraculous vaccine that's supposed to be out there. That's the only way it's going to be out of this COVID-19 situation, where things can get back to normal. It's if they get these vaccines. They've been promised now. Apparently, there's a couple of different vaccines. By middle of next year, they're talking about. So we could still be in this situation for another 4, 5, 6 months. You just don't know. But what's making it very, very difficult is when you look at the United Kingdom, and hence notice I said United Kingdom, because you got England, you got Scotland, totally different to the English lockdowns. You got with a total different ruling to the English and the Scottish lockdown. You've got Ireland that has even got stronger restrictions.
Yeah.
Why are we all doing it separately? We should be doing it as the United Kingdom. If one's lockdown, all's lockdown, in my opinion. It's much better. And stop accepting people in from different countries. Because, you know, you're never going to stop this bloody virus. This is why it's important that this vaccine, if it works, I mean, fingers crossed, that's all I'd say is if it works, it's going to be great. But
so Jared Copperman says, question that needs asking is, if there was no money involved and no fame involved, how many would still breach restrictions? What do you think, John?
Exactly.
I think it would probably stop overnight, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I think when I was speaking to you a couple of days ago, I talked about a Facebook thing about ego.
Yes. Oh, that's another show. We'll be doing that, guys. Don't you worry about that.
We're all different. I don't personally give 2 hoots whether, you know, somebody likes me or not. But there are an awful lot of people out there that need that boost. All the time. You know, I'm confident in my own skin.
Yeah. What about you, CJ?
Sorry, what was the question?
If there was no money involved and no fame involved, how many would still breach restrictions?
I agree with John, to be quite honest. I think you would find it, a lot of it would disappear overnight. And let's be quite honest, it is all about, look at me, I want to be famous, how much money can I make? We've seen it right throughout the paranormal, to be quite honest with you. I wish it was nobody involved with it, because I think I'd get back to normal then, and we'd be able to get back to normality, proper investigating, pen and paper guys, not flashy objects. Sorry, but that's for another show. But, when you think about it, yeah, I agree with what John just said. Can't disagree with any of it, really, to be honest.
No, not at all.
What about you, Gobby? What do you think?
I think as well that, between us, myself and Colin have done quite a bit of TV, and we know that it will never be fame, fortune. I wish I had made a penny from anything. Unfortunately, the paranormal is such an expensive hobby, and I love buying things.
Yeah, I know.
And my latest acquisition, which is under my desk, can't say, will have to last me a few years. And unfortunately, I'm looking at another one. I should be bidding it at auction in a couple of weeks.
Well, I agree with you, because what we have done, actually, we do it for shits and giggles. And that's why we do it, because we get a kick out of it and a laugh out of it, to be quite honest. And, we have done a little bit. And, not once have we ever tried to be paid for it. Wish we bleed would.
I think as well that if you can't make fun of yourself, don't go on camera.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I've been humiliated at the London Palladium with Colin's EVP of me having a wee in the bushes. So if you take yourself very seriously, it's not going to work. Just enjoy what you do. Life's too short.
Unless you're goddamn sexy like Aaron off of Ghost Adventurers, I'd just keep watching you just for the sake of it. If I could marry two men, I'd be all right, because I'd be like, come here, Aaron.
I've got a good therapist. I'll send you over the telephone number of them. All right,
No, it's all right. I like Aaron.
Jane's got a very valid point there. Many people do it for the passion of the field. Not everybody is in it for the money and fame, and that's true to be. But there are those that are in for it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Names.
I think the biggest question that's on everyone's mind is, how is it if I was to walk outside my house right now and just wander up the road for no reason? I'm just going to go outside, not exercising, I'm just wandering up the road for no other reason, bit bored, going to leave the house. I could actually get fined for doing that currently. Yeah. So why is it okay for me to go, actually, tonight I'm going to walk into the local churchyard with my K2 meter and my camera, and I'm going to do a bit of paranormal investigating? I guess that's just where my own head is at. I don't understand how other people think that's okay, when the guidelines, I feel the guidelines are quite clear that's not okay. Just because it doesn't say one person with another person from a household can't go to a cemetery, or one person with another person in the household can't go book a paranormal investigator. They don't turn around and say, I don't know, clowns can't go to people's houses, do they? There's nothing on there that says, if you're a clown, you cannot go and do a birthday party at someone's house. But yet they still understand. That's it. I cannot be booked to go into someone's house and do a birthday party. So why do we in the paranormal think that everything is above us just because we see what we believe is a grey area?
And there's quite strict guidelines on what is travel and the purpose of travel.
Yeah.
So whichever angle you look at it, and I'm not dissing anybody, but whichever angle you look at it, you can look at those guidelines and find the reason why it shouldn't happen, and somebody will find a reason why it should happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're never going to get 100% agreement in this field.
No. And you can see that from the comments tonight, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
The difference in the comments, which again, got to say, has been absolutely brilliant. What's been so great are the guests in the chat room. It's been astronomical. I don't think you can see it because you're on the phone, aren't you, Yvette?
Oh, no, I can see them now.
You can see them now, can you? All right.
Yes, I can. But what is really refreshing that there are such diverse opinions, but they seem to be having a really good debate.
Yes.
Without anyone getting funny or, argumentative. And I think that's what's missing in the paranormal is fantastic debate, because that's how you learn from each other, and to be able to express your views and listen to someone else's opposite views and then find a compromise. That's how you move forward.
Yeah.
This is true. And do you know, Sheena makes a really great point. Can only go to a funeral with X amount of people, so why have people investigate a cemetery on lockdown?
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
That's a hard hitter.
Yeah. It really is. I think with what's going on today anyway, I think we should stay well away from graveyards, to be quite frank. I think it's very raw for a lot of people. And can you imagine if you did a live and you actually caught recent graves or very recent graves in that live? How upsetting that would be for the families if they accidentally watched that, because they might, if you're in their local area, which you shouldn't be traveling excessively. I think you're meant to stay in your area. What would that person think? Jeez.
See, this is another thing, is when is a recent death, do we talk about it? I see in America that it's more commonplace. You only have to look at the TV ghost hunting shows. They'll bring up about a murder from, say, 3 or 4 years ago and talk about it openly. But I think in this country, we're a bit more reserved. And I think we should be very careful talking or trying to communicate with someone who has died while there's a chance of living relatives still about. I think we've got to be mindful of things like that. That's why I'm quite uneasy, and I'm not sure on the laws of actually going to private cemeteries and graveyards. Perhaps that's something you need to discuss on another show.
Absolutely. So Cheryl Clifford has said she's just come back from hospital to find out we are questioning the authenticity of the email 4S have from Public Health. There is a phone number on the email for Public Health. I suggest you do your research and ring them. 4S operate with honesty and integrity, so please get your facts right first. Thank you. I think you'll find if you go back and listen to the beginning, Cheryl, you'll see that actually we weren't questioning it at all in any way, shape or form. In fact, we said we weren't questioning it. But thank you for your comments. Okay, so Liz Cornell says, Justin Clifford, but there are teams flouting the rules and they run the risk of passing it on to other family who don't investigate. Yeah, I mean, there are other teams out there flouting the rules, absolutely. And this is why we're doing what we're doing tonight, so we can get it out there and we can have a good old blooming chat about it. Don't be shy.
Can I just intercede, because obviously that comment there that came up, we didn't mention that originally. It was mentioned in the comments. So we were only speaking as the comments that was coming up. So knocking any groups, and as I said to you, this show's not about that.
Yeah.
But I will question the fact that one council, one trading standards will tell you one thing and someone else will tell you something different. And what I've suggested that you contact your MP and find out from your MP and see what information comes back from there. So please don't think that we're attacking you, because we're not. And we didn't mention your name. Just want to make sure that's clear.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So by all means, contact us later. We're more than happy to talk to you about it. We're all friends here. Okay, so Jane Rowley says a lot of people cannot debate in the paranormal without being judgmental or verbally attacking people because it does not fit with their point of view. Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is why we want it to be an open debate. We would love to have people on that actually might have a difference of opinion. We're not asking anybody here to agree with us, and we're certainly not asking anybody to disagree with us. We are all individuals, and like my dear old dad said, opinions are like arseholes, and everybody's got one.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. Okay, so have you got any more questions tonight, Cole? Anything burning in your brain?
Nah, no, not really. To be quite honest, I think I've got an awful lot off my chest. Personally. But then again, people know me. I'm not here to make friends with people, nor am I here to impress people. At the end of the day, I'm here to put a point of view across. And, you know, many other people have done exactly the same tonight. And that is brilliant. That's what the show's about. That's what Dead Ends is. Come on, have your say. If you don't agree with us, come out and don't agree with us. We're not going to bite your head off. But
you know, and look, we would be a really, really shit podcast show if we didn't do our research. If we just came on and went, today we're going to talk about this, and we had no sort of background knowledge of anything at all, it would make us absolute hypocrites. Everybody you see on your screen today is in the paranormal field. Okay, I personally, 17 years of experience in the paranormal field. I've seen it all. And so has CJ, and so has Corinne, and my poor teammate John has been introduced to it. Look how miserable he is. I mean, he's lost. He needs love in his life. And I can't even hug him because he's not in my support bubble.
But one thing which is key here, and it's about the research, it's why I said go and speak to your MP. Forget your local police, forget your local councils, your trade and standards.
Yeah.
Go and speak to your MP, because they're the ones that are in Parliament that are making these guidelines. So they should be in a better place to actually tell you what they're expecting of you as an individual or a collective. That's because you can go to many different areas, and many different areas are going to give you different views because they're just confused as what other people are.
Absolutely. So guys, look, please share the video out today. Absolutely, you know, still ask your friends, still comment on it, even though once it finished it won't be a live session anymore, but do get people to comment on it, because we might do another show. And we'll have some of you on that actually don't agree with some of the opinions, our own opinions that we've had today. And I think that would be great. Me and Colin actually were speaking about this today, and we really would love to have people on who have a different opinion. And you're going to be completely safe with us. We're not here to verbally attack. Likewise, we don't expect you to verbally attack us. But this is what a debate's all about. It should not be one-sided, ever.
Justin Clifford just put up a really good comment, actually, which perhaps needs to be said as well.
Yeah, he says, we spoke with the police. They didn't know or care and told us to ring our local council. They advised us to speak with our local public health department. We told them of the situations of what we do and time we would be out, etc. And they agreed it was viable for us to carry on during this time. We have been out once locally, and we have brought joy to many of the people who always watch us. Absolutely. And I think you were saying earlier anyway, Justin, that it was you, your girlfriend, sorry if I got that wrong, and your stepmom. So, I mean, if that's your bubble, then that's your bubble, you know. I mean, as long as you're not doing anything silly, which I don't think you would be doing for a minute, then, you know, crack on, have a great time. Our opinion is just our opinion. It doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong at all.
They're quite right, because there's some comments that are coming up about, you know, police, that they're not interested. I don't think that it's that they're not interested. I think they're just, again, confused, because they're told to go out and find people, and yet now, and there's a particular interested story in the paper recently this week, where they were going out and finding repeat offenders, and then they got told by the Crown prosecution, stop it, because it can be challenged in court. So they don't know if they're coming or going, to be quite honest. But it comes down to one thing. Remember, the paranormal is an unregulated, ungoverned field. And there really is no no way to prove or disprove it.
No.
So, you know,
No.
it's all up there, guys.
Well, Cheryl Clifford says police aren't interested. I agree with you, they really aren't. I've seen many lives where the police have showed up and have just told people, go home. There's nothing that's been done. Go home, stay safe. The person you have to speak to is your local council. That's who the police referred me to. It's not the MP you speak to. Your council has a dedicated area for COVID queries and will provide responses in writing if you ask them to. They are very helpful. Well, let me tell you, Swindon Council weren't that helpful with me. They just pointed me to the swindon.gov.uk website, which happens to just be gov.uk website. They just added Swindon in the title. So, yeah. But thank you. Great message. And Liz Connell says the police have better things to do, to be honest. Now, I'm not too sure about that, though, because, John, you're ex-forces, aren't you?
Mm.
What would you say to that? Do you think they've got better things to do?
Interesting enough, on the Exmouth community page the other day, there was a bloke moaning like buggery. He does school uniforms and does the deliveries to various outlets. And he got stopped and fined for going about his business delivering school uniforms.
Wow.
And I thought, well, you know, they turned around and said, you could have posted them. Yeah, probably could, I guess. But that's another thing, you know, that bloke is doing what some people would say, because school is still in on essential business.
Yeah, I would say it's, yeah, I don't know. It's really weird because there has been that up and down thing with clothing lately, hasn't there? So Wales, you saw them shut clothing down completely in retail stores. Our store in particular, I won't mention our store, but our store in particular, just we've got a ground floor and then a mezzanine at the top. And we were told that we could only have one floor open, so the mezzanine needed to close, and that's where all of our clothing is currently situated. So we had to close our clothing as well. It's just a bit weird, but yeah, we could bring clothing down. So I think maybe it's just less places to catch COVID. I don't know. So cut that bit off, which has got, you know, your elevators, your lifts, and also the travelator. Less places to put your hands, I suppose, and touch things and get COVID, I suppose. I don't know.
The trouble is, what's happened in 2020 is unprecedented. We have no idea. The government has no idea, because we don't know what the end is going to be or how long it's going to be. So everyone, I think, is working blind, and that's the same in the paranormal. You know, that there's a vast array of different opinions, different views, especially with lockdown and with what you can and cannot do. And maybe perhaps with your show, perhaps you could approach a government official and get it in black and white. That might be an idea.
I think the problem with that...
I just want to include you because there may just be a slight possibility. It's why I've made reference a number of times tonight about speaking to your local MP. So we'll have to watch this space and see what happens.
But remember, though, your reply from your local MP will be around your local area. So again, it still wouldn't apply to every area.
And it will give an idea of what they're thinking, their mindset.
That area, yeah, absolutely. Jane Rowley put, what are the thoughts on people who can get out and investigate legally and safely and do live feeds? These feeds have kept many of us sane and given us a paranormal fix during the lockdowns. What do you think, Corinne?
Lives aren't my cup of tea personally. You know, I prefer just to investigate, but if people want to do it, you know, some people enjoy it, and fair play to Jane if she has. I prefer to pick up the phone and ring someone.
Oh God, does she like to pick up that phone?
John, what do you reckon?
I have mixed views on that, simply because of the restrictions under the travel. And it's down to that definition, that understanding, that interpretation of what is essential.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with you there. If I would say this exactly the same as you, yeah, what is essential? But don't get me wrong, I absolutely enjoy every now and then popping onto someone else's live feed and having a ganders and seeing what they're up to. I just don't really like it so much at the moment.
For a month, TV Land's full of all manner of paranormal stuff. That it's a month. It's a month.
Yeah. No, I agree.
We're well over halfway now through it, aren't we?
I think we saw less of it, personally. I think I saw less of it in the first lockdown.
Yeah.
And I've seen more of it in this 4.5, 5 week lockdown. I've seen a lot more this time round. And I do wonder whether it's because people are just bored now. I do. Anyway, look at that. Wow. What are you laughing at?
Beverly just put, yes, Karen, ring someone at all hours. Yeah, we do. Usually round about midnight.
Right then. Well, I think we've kept you all for long enough. Guys in the chat.
Or you get a little message that says, are you still up?
I like those messages because I usually am. Yeah, right. So we've come to the end. I think it's been amazing tonight. Thank you ever so much, Corinne and John, for joining us. You have been amazing. Thank you ever so much. We're going to keep you on the screen. I think it's probably more politer than booting you off. So keep you on the screen for a few seconds. I want to say personally from me, massive thank you to everybody in the chat box tonight. I mean, we've had some amazing comments come in, some new people just joining us. The Kazarooni's just jumped on as well. Karen Blythe is talking as well. I mean, it's been amazing. You've all blown me away, and my friendship extends to you all regardless. This is simply, as I've stated before, my opinion, and that's all it is, my opinion, and everybody else is entitled to have theirs. That's the great thing about debates, especially adult ones. What about you, Cole?
Well, I don't think I could add anything more than what you've said, to be quite honest. It's been ecstatic, and that's what I've been more happy about, is those comments that have been coming on and the interaction. That's what we want to see. That's what we want. Get it off your chest.
Yeah.
As the show grows, as it moves on, we are going to be tackling some real controversial topics coming up very soon. We will be rather blunt in our views on them, but they're for future shows, and just keep an eye on the page and see what's due to come on up. But, at the end of the day, the paranormal, as I've always said, the paranormal doesn't need to entertain us. It needs to educate us. So try and get a little bit of education, and if you know somebody that has got a lot of knowledge, suck them dry. Suck them dry of all the knowledge you can get.
Sorry,
I don't
Oh, bless him.
And we have got some interesting guests coming up as well. Some really good academic ones as well. Yeah. So you can put some really decent questions to them and, see how it goes. But thank you all for being part of what I think is a great show. I hope nobody goes away offended. Nobody should go away offended. We've been quite open, honest, and transparent in what we've done. I think everybody's managed to have a little bit of a say, and I wish you all well, and we hope that you all stay perfectly safe and COVID-free.
Yeah, and thanks ever so much for joining us, guys. What a way to start our first show. Thanks ever so much. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.